Hello, ladies and gentlemen, children and kids, hamsters and mice of all ages. Welcome to the Jocular Junction. My name is Jordan with a silent PH in the middle. Today we're going to talk about tabletop news and games and other fun stuff, design, Kickstarters, backer kits. It's a whole fun news show thing that I like to do here Saturday morning live on YouTube over on the Jocular Junction and coming at you later as a podcast. So yeah, feel free to pick it up. Listen. Thank you guys so much for joining me and listening to the show. Thank you so much for joining me live. We have a new YouTube feature called Super Chat Goals, and I am not encouraging anyone to actually give a Super Chat goal, but I did put a goal of one Super Chat just because I want to see what the animation looks like. So it is there if you are interested, and we will freak out about that later if it happens. Today, let me open up my window of stuff. Cairn 2E is out. So today's news, I have a lot of like D&D stuff. Oh, first of all, happy Halloween. Hope you guys had a great Halloween. I did. I went trick-or-treating with the family. And my son was dressed as a white rabbit. He is 4. And I was dressed as a magician and had a good time running around. A lot of people thought I was like an opera goer until they saw my rabbit running around, my kid. So that was fun. We had an excellent time Halloweening. And I didn't get to run any fun Halloween games other than my like semi-spooky Plangea game that I ran, which is not the norm. I usually try to run a Halloween one-shot of some kind. And this year, somebody I met locally decided to run Ravenloft using Shadow Dark as a one-shot, which is something like Sly Flourish talks about a lot. And I'm really curious about doing that because I think that it just fits the vibe of Shadow Dark really well. So I want to try that at some point. I've talked about it on the show before, but that's still on my list of things to do. In the news, oh, we got it. What is it? Oh, but you did it, goal complete. Boa Peach for the win. Thank you so much for the super chat and for the 5-month membership, Boa. We did it, guys. We saw the animation. Goal achieved. So thank you so much. That was funny. I appreciate it. Cairn 2E is out. So this is Cairn 2nd edition was kickstarted, and I was just kind of following Yokai on Itch, and then he posted all this stuff. So you can now go and buy and download Cairn 2nd edition. So the Warden's Guide and the Player's Guide, I believe, are both available. Yeah. So I would encourage you guys to go check that out. Like, I don't know. It's pretty cool. You can purchase a print copy. Where do the print copies come from? Coilbound or, from Lulu. Okay. So Lulu Press, you can get a printed version of Cairn if you're interested in that. Links down in the doobly-doo if you want. But it's available on their itch page, yokaigal.itch.io. The D&D Dungeon Master's Guide 2024 is out. Wizards of the Coast sent me a preview copy, so I have this. And I have not had a terrible amount of time to flip through it. It feels more or less the same. I bet there's a lot of great information in here. I just kind of went over some of the magic items and stuff, and there's a lot more animation or a lot more art for the magic items. I didn't get into Bastions yet. I know that's a big thing that people are talking about, and I was a little disappointed that the complete campaign setting that is included in the D&D 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide, Greyhawk, it's only like 30 pages or something. It's enough, I guess, which is kind of the whole point. So we'll see as I dig into that. I do believe my next set of lore videos will be focused on Greyhawk, because I have this book, I have some older Greyhawk books. I honestly have all of the PDFs. So I will be researching Greyhawk. It just has a different... the creation story of Greyhawk is kind of like more on the Gary Gygax made a thing rather than the gods came together and created the universe like in the Forgotten Realms. So when I'm writing the scripts, I'm just kind of like, oh yeah, that's a thing. It's kind of interesting. Funny story about the D&D Dungeon Master's Guide for 2024. I'm getting snobby about lore. Yes, thank you, Moa. No, it just was interesting because I'm like, I'll start at the beginning, and the beginning is this weird. It just feels uninteresting for a starter video of a series that, like, I want people to really enjoy that starter video to then watch the rest of them. But we will, yeah, I'll dig into Greyhawk. I'm excited how it actually ties into a lot of the other modules, like Tomb of Horrors is placed there, and White Plume Mountain. Like, eventually a lot of these kind of iconic adventures got put in Greyhawk, and so I think that's really cool. So I'm excited about that. Apparently they put a bunch, they being Wizards of the Coast, put a bunch of the DMG 2024 on D&D Beyond under the free section. So this was interesting in that there was a free version of the Player's Handbook, and they also made a free version of the Dungeon Master's Guide, and I wasn't expecting that. I thought it would just be like here's a free version to make all of the for players, because you want players to be able to come and make stuff. But they were like, no, we'll let players who maybe just play all the time can actually look and be like, oh, I want to run a game. I think that'd be really cool. So, but there was too much information. I don't know what was retracted, but like there was a day where like most of the DMG was available for free, and then it was no longer available, which got me thinking that they will probably, I wonder if they'll have like, hey, it's free Artificer Week, and they'll just put like the Artificer free for a week to get people to like sign up and play, and then take it away so that you're like, oh, I have to like go back. I don't know. So it's kind of interesting. Also in the D&D news is Comic-Con. There was a Comic-Con in London, MGM Comic-Con, and they had Wizards of the Coast flew out Jeremy Crawford and the Baldur's Gate 3 voice actor cast to play D&D 2024. Jeremy Crawford ran the games, ran the game, and it's up on YouTube. And I'm highlighting this not because it's like amazing play or I'm like a huge Baldur's Gate 3 fan I love Baldur's Gate 3. It was a really good game. But specifically, if you want to see how how new D&D plays, because they're using the 2024 rules. And I think I'll be watching it just for that. To be like, okay, this is a 2024 game run by the man who wrote most of the 2024 game. Let's see how it plays. So that could be a lot of fun. So there's a link down in the bio if you are down in the description if you're interested in that. There's also a new Ravenloft novel that's coming out, and I guess some people are a little upset about it not fitting the vibe of Ravenloft, but at this point I feel like Dungeons and Dragons is not trying to be scary and edgy, but so much as like they're trying to be like Goosebumps scary with Ravenloft, and I think that's putting a lot of people off-putting about it. But that is, I mean, that if you're looking for that broad audience, that is exactly what they want to do. They want to have Goosebumps scary for kids to run around in Barovia and be like, whoa, it's like scary as in R.L. Stine scary. So here's the cover of the book. I haven't read any of these new ones. I think I wanted to read the Spelljammer one, and I never got around to it. So maybe I should pick that up. I should probably try it. Although I was just recommended like 3 other books, and they're now all sitting on my Kindle, not being played or not being read. But I did delete Magic the Gathering Arena off of my computer. So now when I sit down, I used to just like go over to and start playing Arena, and then I would waste an hour. And now I don't do that. Because I'm like, oh yeah, I don't have it installed. It'll take too long. I'll write instead, or I'll go read a book. It was the best decision I've made in a long time, is deleting Arena. So if you too are a struggling procrastinator, get rid of Magic the Gathering Arena. You'll be better off. And then you'll just feel better. I definitely am happier now that I'm not like banging my head about a game that I have very little control over. Dungeons & Dragons, Ravenloft, Heir of Strahd, written by Delilah S. Dawson. I'm not sure exactly what other books she has read, but Wizards of the Coast, this is what they do. They do authors for hire, which is not a bad thing at all. There's some great books that are written by authors for hire. And it takes place in Barovia. And there is a synopsis that was on a website that I found. And it says, 5 strangers armed with steel and magic awaken in a mist-shrouded land with no memory of how they arrived. There's Rotrog, a prideful orcish wizard. Shavarian, a sardonic drow barbarian. Ali Shai, an embittered tiefling paladin. A skittish Kenku cleric, and Fiel, a sunny human artificer. And so looking at this picture, I just thought they hit these guys pretty good. I guess the drow barbarian has a familiar, is the only thing I can think of. But I do like that it's an orc wizard. The orc looks like it straight up could be a tiefling, or not a tiefling, but I guess it could be a tiefling too. It straight up looks like it could be an elf, except for the tusks. And the character art is kind of getting interesting. And then the idea of adding a Kenku to this is funny to me, because Kenku traditionally can't speak. They just mimic words. But I would be curious to read this. I haven't read any of the other Ravenloft books either, though, which would be fun. I think there were only a handful made, but I have them all digitally, so that would be cool. But yeah, Orc Wizard, Drow Barbarian, we're going against Archetype. And then I love this character, the Sunny Artificer. I think she's got a little potion bottle there. I have not seen an Artificer outside of a Eberron novel. So, and then Strahd looking like Strahd. So that's the cover. I don't know. People are like wishy-washy about it. Whatever. Will they survive the nightmarish welcome in the realm of Barovia? They get a message from Strahd that's like, I'd like to make your acquaintance and talk to you about stuff. Come see me. And they don't have any other choice to do that, so they go and whatever. It's gonna be, I don't know what it's gonna be, but I think it's gonna be Goosebumps. It's gonna be R.L. Stine, Ravenloft, which is fine. Like we don't need to be upset. And also, I don't think Wizards of the Coast is even going to ever be in the marketplace of like, let's make the darkest, grittiest thing of all with like, I mean, that's what Shadow of the Demon Lord is for. That's what like, whatever is happening. So, there is some confusing. Yeah. So Lord Soth is from Dragonlance. He might have ended up in Barovia at some point, but he is a Dragonlance character 100%. Strahd von Zarovich is Ravenloft, which is Barovia. There is a new content filter for Drive-Thru RPG. So I thought this was interesting. There we go. So they're going to add a filter, or they already have added a filter, where you can say, hey, I don't want any product that has AI art in it. And I suppose, I'm not sure how they're checking this, but I know that you can flag your material in drive-thru as this utilizes AI art. And I think that's just like an honor system thing. Obviously, some people will be able to tell. Some people will not be able to tell. We were even talking about like, not what is the difference? I'm not even going to get into the debate of AI, but if you utilized AI, you can now, or you should flag your thing and be like, hey, I utilized AI for this and this and this. And then people can just filter that out. I thought this was kind of cool. And this will make or break the idea of, do consumers care, consumers of RPG products, do they care about AI art? We can talk about it back and forth, but this is a place where people are able to put their money directly where their mouth is. And so if enough people care, they'll use this filter, and we hopefully won't, you'll see sales decline and people will be like, I better go buy some art from a quality artist. If not, and what my fear is that people are just like, I don't know, that looks cool. We'll see. Like, I don't know. But I think it's an interesting step, and it was just kind of encouraging to see that people who are on the fence about, people who are upset about AI can now filter it, and we have like kind of an ongoing experiment to see if utilizing AI in your products actually lowers the amount of sales that you get. Because right now I feel like the reverse is what we're trying to do, where I'm trying to encourage sales by saying I'm not using AI. And I don't know if that helps sales, but does it hinder sales if you use AI? And this will be a test of that. So kind of interesting there. Yeah, well, we've never seen D&D products on DriveThruRPG, just on the DM's Guild. So, but yeah, that's the ongoing joke. WizKids has a new Forgotten Realms game. This looks interesting. I saw this on a press release with WizKids. They sent out stuff saying, excuse me. They sent out, they periodically send out emails. I'm on their email list, and they're like, hey, this new thing's coming out. But it's called Edge of the Realms, Fields of Faerun. It feels like Carcassonne. Is that Carcassonne? Is that the game I'm thinking of, where you build the map? And I don't know if this is a direct map building game like that. But it is D&D adjacent in that it takes place in the Forgotten Realms, but what it is a tile-laying, card drafting, map-making game. So you're making a game, and you construct your own map, and you create maps where you can explore and complete quests, and then combinations involving cities and landmarks gain you more points. It feels like Carcassonne. Carcassonne. I can't think of the word or the thing, but that's what it feels like to me. Carcassonne? Is that the board game? Yes, this is the board game I'm thinking of. Moving it over to the window that you can see. So this is the map what I'm thinking of, and I'm wondering if it's got to be similar. It looks very similar. It's probably the same thing, but I don't know. Anyway, it is written by or designed by Phil Walker Harding, who did Sushi Go and a couple other ones, created the Bluey Scavenger Hunt board game. So I don't know, but I mean, this is part of the bigger idea, and I'm realizing this more and more with the DMG 2024, is that Wizards of the Coast really wants their intellectual property to stand outside of role-playing games. And so in the DMG 2024, there's the lore glossary is just like, hey, remember this character we have, remember this character we own, remember this character we own. Like it's not so much a lore, like, how can I utilize these characters in my game, which is what I thought it was going to be. Like, here's Orcus, here's the history of Orcus, here's how you utilize Orcus in your D&D game. It's not that at all. It's like, here's Dritz, he's in some books, enjoy. Here's Vecna, he did this. Enjoy. So I don't know. But this is a similar thing where they want their IP to stand outside of Dungeons and Dragons. And so we'll use the Forgotten Realms world to do a fun map making card game. Could be fun. We'll see. I don't know. I probably won't pick it up. I'll say that. Unless it's amazing. Like the last game, like my favorite board game is Betrayal at House on the Hill. And they did a Baldur's Gate Betrayal at House on the Hill version. And I had a lot of fun with it, but my friend bought it, and I realized if I ever going to play it, I'm probably going to play it with him, so I never picked it up. And it's not something that I'm like, man, I really need that like version of Clue or Dungeons & Dragons Clue. Like it has a real different vibe than other properties. So, but then I'm also the same person who I don't need Pirates of the Caribbean Clue. I don't need Jurassic Park Monopoly, even though I believe I own both of those things because they were gifts. So that's funny. I don't know. So moving on to, and I should say last week we had Lucian on the show. He was very excited to come back, and I think he wanted to come back this week, but he was traveling for work and got sick. Catching whatever on, I don't think it was COVID, but he caught something on the plane, and he just got sick. So he might join us next week. We'll see. But I'm also traveling for work next week. So it'll be a fun time. And Salvage Union starter set has 72 hours left to fund. That does look good. I should have put that on the thing. I was talking about that earlier. That's on BackerKit, I think, right? So there's this mech RPG I've been looking at. And if you are listening to this on Monday, as a podcast, it might be over, but, we'll just get into, Salvage Union starter set. And I'll put it in the links below. But this is on... So the second part of this show, let's back up, is crowdfunding and deals. And I want to talk about some Kickstarters and crowdfunding things that have popped up in my mind. These are things that I just thought was interesting. Not all of them I have backed, but I do think they're interesting enough to talk about, I guess. And these are not sponsored in any way. So the first of all is there is a Kickstarter by Modifius... Chaosium. Haha. So Chaosium is doing a 40th anniversary boxed set of ElfQuest RPG. And the reason I bring this up, as I take a sip of coffee, I have not played ElfQuest. I haven't read the ElfQuest comics. I'm very out of touch with ElfQuest. But Chaosium, a few years ago, did a remastered reprint of the second edition Call of Cthulhu, like boxed set. And so if you're a collector person like me, it's a really interesting product because they have the original scans and stuff, and they recreated it as it was back in like 1985. Like, this is what the box set looked like. This is what contained in the box set. Here's the whatever. And then you also get the PDFs. And so I have this like really cool box of like Call of Cthulhu. I think it's 2 boxes of like a ton of adventures, the core game, like a starter adventure, all this other stuff. I've only played it once, but it's just cool to have. Like, I don't know, it's kind of like a coffee table thing. And so this is similar, where it is, hey, it's the 40th anniversary of the ElfQuest RPG. We're going to remaster and reprint all of this stuff, but it's going to be the exact same things you would have gotten, the exact same packaging. Like, nothing's updated, no art. It's just a cardboard box. It's all of these books, and I think it's really, really cool. So, hey, these are not sponsored, but, we all like to buy and collect things. That's why we're talking about the various PDFs and stuff you can buy. Jeez Louise. Anyway, ElfQuest Classic has 9 days to go. I don't know, it looks cool. It's they wanted 10,000. They're over 143,000. Chaosium's pretty good about fulfilling their Kickstarters. The second one is a book called Downcrawl 2nd Edition. So this is a tabletop RPG toolkit for exploring under the earth. And the reason I bring this up is because the original author of this, they wrote 2 supplements that I bought. And one of them is Skycrawl, which is the exact same idea as this. And the other one was Downcrawl. And Downcrawl was very good. And these were zines that I picked up Skycrawl is all about airships and like the world above and how, how to generate like an aerial adventure. And then Downcrawl is the opposite. How do we generate like going deep into the earth? And I thought it was really awesome. So the idea that this is getting a 2nd edition is kind of cool. So the book looks a lot thicker than the original zine. He's going to have more stuff going on. And then they also have these cards that they're going to utilize to, it's a deck of cards to like generate the underground system that you're exploring. So I think that's really cool. And I'm a big fan of being able to gameplay on the fly. As I'm getting older, I'm prepping less. I shouldn't say because I'm getting older, but just like in general, the more RPGs I play, I am prepping a lot less and really going with like, oh, you find that interesting? Okay, let's explore that. And I kind of just go in that direction. And so having decks like this is actually really useful because I can be like, okay, oh yeah, that sounds cool. This happened. I don't know the author. I just know that I enjoyed the original Downcrawl. I think it would totally be worth some money. So if you are interested in Downcrawl, it looks like $20 for the 2nd edition PDF, 140 pages, or $25 for a soft cover, or $45 for the deck and the soft cover. So Downcrawl 2nd edition by Aaron A. Reed, Aaron A. Reed on BackerKit. And then last but not least, Salvage Union. This is at 91,000 pounds. I love the box set for this. Let me see if I can find the box set or the PDF. Yeah. So the cover is like the cover of the box is it looks like a beat up box that you would buy, and it's like a manual for like your mech. Like, here you go. So, like let's tear down the Ford Fiesta 1994 full build and rebuild kind of thing. And that's the vibe that this has. And my player group that I'm playing Dungeon Crawl Classics, you messed up now, Ron. The player groups that the group that I'm playing with currently really wants to do a mech game. And boy, do I love mechs. The guy who wants to run it is leaning towards Lancer, and I think every other person, including myself, does not want to play Lancer. Not that it's bad, just that it is more complicated. It is a more complicated game for the 6 sessions that we're going to be invested in. And so I was recommending this, and then somebody else was recommending... I can't remember. There was another one we were recommending. And then I also recommended the Mecha Hack, which is the Black Hack version of, like, the Mecha version of the Black Hack, written by Absolute Tabletop. And that's also a really cool one. So Lancer could be fun. I just really don't know. And maybe this one's too complicated, too. I might just really be drawn by the cool art of the car manual box. So... But this is currently on Kickstarter. It's got, and this is for, so the core book is ENnie nominated, and I think it's out. This is for a box set, right? So, this is for a starter set. So this isn't, like, you could get Salvage Union today. It's out from what I know. But they're working on a salvage, or a starter set. So 72 hours left. Totally worth it. I'm going to put BackerKit here so we know. And the most complicated part of Lancer is mecha creation. Otherwise, it is very smooth and streamlined. Okay. Witchened Up. Great name, by the way. I will take your word for it, and I'll talk to my gaming group. So, could be very fun. design and inspiration, ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying to write an RPG. Writing an RPG is hard. In that you have really great ideas in your head, and then you sit down and you play them and you realize those ideas are the worst possible ideas that you could have ever had. It's interesting because I would get frustrated with writing modular D6, and through that frustration, I would end up going and writing Tolv. And I have to change the name of Tolv because of Tales of the Valiant has the same letters in it, and I think people would get confused. But Tolv was another idea where it would be a rollover, but instead of a D20, you would use a D12. And then after working on that system for a while, I was like, I think I want to go back to modular D6 because it makes more sense. So it feels like I run into hiccups, and then I go back to the other system, and then I run into hiccups, and I go back to the other system. This time I'm not allowing myself to do that, but I really wanted to run back to Tolv after my playtest for modular D6. So some friends came over here, and we were going to play Plangea, but not enough people showed up. So I said, hey, we can play this haunted house game I have called Home, or I can run you guys through a quick adventure of modular D6. And they were like, let's try that. So we did it. And currently, modular D6 has it's a D6 dice pool system, and you succeed on a 6. There are ways to make you succeed on a 5, and there are ways to make you succeed on a 4, 5, or a 6. So like you can increase your success chance. But I found that was very confusing for the players. So mathematically it works out like really well, but players were just like, so is it a success here? Is it not a success here? And I was like, that is confusing. And then I had all these ideas of like, we need to have modules come in. So I started changing some things after playtest. And then I found a really great Reddit thread on playtesting. And people were talking about RPGs, and I forget exactly, I don't know, I'm subscribed to so many Reddit threads or Reddit communities that I don't remember the exact one this was in. But somebody was saying, hey, I'm making kind of a crunchy game on for a tabletop role-playing game. And based on the crunchiness of it, part of the fun of that role-playing game is character creation. But they were running into problems of like testing character creation. And the best comment I saw, the most helpful one, said, create pre-gen characters and make sure that your core, like, is it fun to actually sit and play before you start working on the like sub mini game that is character creation, because that's its own fun thing where people like to read, they like to theory craft, and they like to test out a theory, and that's great, but you need to worry of like, is your system fun? And when I was running my modular D6 playtest, I definitely didn't hand them pre-gens. I was like, here's kind of what I'm thinking. You can pick from these things. And I think most of our night was like trying to understand, well, what does this do? What does this do? And I was like, if I just gave you characters and said, now, and I know what you do because I made the characters, I can run you through this a lot easier, and we can just see if it's fun. So that is my next goal. My next goal is I'm going to make 4 to 5 pre-gen characters. And once I have those characters made and I feel like they're fun, I'm going to solidify them on a piece of paper. And then I will be able to like photocopy these pre-gens and say, we're going to play this. And then I'm going to write a silly adventure. So that's the other thing, is I need to come up with some silly adventures. I have some ideas of something simple, like rats in the basement. Honestly, that's what I need. I need just like a simple 2-hour game to see if this is fun and working. And then with that, and it feels so obvious when you say it afterwards, like hindsight is 2020. But after reading this, I'm like, oh my gosh, because I could specifically test the exact thing that I'm writing by putting it into the pre-gen. Blew my mind. Like, it's so dumb how you don't think about those things. And then all of a sudden I'm just like, that would be the most ideal of situations. So, be humble. And sometimes you need to just take swallow a pill of reality from Reddit and realize that you have to do that. So with that, I'm going to focus on some gameplay. I'm going to make I'm going to make an adventure. I'm going to make this the shorts, I'm going to change a lot of things based on the feedback that I got from the first playtest, and then I'll probably post an updated version of the game, which will really just be like, here is the playtest, like run this adventure with these characters, and here are the basic rules. And then I think other people could run it too, and that might be good as well. So I'm focusing on gameplay first, character creation second, even though the whole idea of my game was that you didn't have a character and you had to like pick modules to build your character. That was kind of the core concept of it. Now I'm just going to be like, you're a cleric. Here's what you can do. We're diving in. But it'll be so much fun. It is very rewarding to write and work on something just like a D&D module, I guess. Like you make a D&D module and you run it. It's really rewarding to see people run through it and be like, that was awesome. That was fun. And so this is also a similar thing. And because I uninstalled Magic the Gathering Arena, I'm getting a lot more work done on it. So that's really great. My games. So I try to play a lot of games. If you are new here, I also run this channel also has an RPG review channel, and I reviewed Settlers of a Dead God, which is an old school essentials campaign setting where you play bugs on a giant corpse, vying for control and exploring the corpse, the quote unquote dead god. And for the Jocular Junction, the video is doing very well enough that Exalted Funeral reached out to me and said, "Hey, thank you so much for that review. We want to send you more stuff." So even though I didn't buy that, another creator sent it to me, but Exalted Funeral is going to send me a bunch of books, and I'm going to try and keep the review train going. So be on the lookout for like Tuesdays. I'll have a review up of something. I think the next one is going to be Sand, which is like this weird desert campaign setting for OSC or for OSR adjacent games. So be sure to check that out. And then tomorrow, my Dungeon Crawl Classics group is getting together. They are now level 4, and I'm going to run this adventure, which is the Mind Weft of the Moonstone Palace. And I love this cover enough that I bought an entire DCC core rulebook with this art on it. I thought it was very cool. So this is what I need to read today, and I will be playing it tomorrow. And I was listening to Judge James. He has a channel here on YouTube called Living for Crits, which I believe on Sunday nights he live streams with his one member of his family, like his kid of some kind. And they talk about, lately they've been talking about Shadow Dark and things like that. But they brought up DCC because he originally played DCC and was a big advocate for Dungeon Crawl Classics. And he was saying, you know, the more he was looking into the Dying Earth and playing the Dying Earth, it feels Dying Earth, Dungeon Crawl Classics feels like Dungeon Crawl Classics advanced. Like it's advanced DCC is what the Dying Earth setting is. And after he said that, I was like, that is completely correct. And I might make a whole video on this where I'm like, I really love the setting. I love the mechanics, but they are many and are confusing at times. And so if you want to play DCC Dying Earth characters, it can get kind of complicated. Whereas regular Dungeon Crawl Classics, I also felt was like somewhat it's not easy, but it's not like the most crunchy difficult. But especially with the Magician and the Witch, we got into a lot of like, what are we doing? So, I guess that was the point of that, is that I have this idea for a video now, like, is Dying Earth Dungeon Crawl Classics just advanced Dungeon Crawl Classics? And sometimes easier is better. Advanced doesn't also always mean that it is better. It just kind of means that it's more complicated. But I'm excited to run this. Once we finish this, they'll be level 5, and I think we'll be done. I do have more Dungeon Crawl Classics adventures that I want to run, but we're also kind of chomping at the bit to do this mech game, so we'll see. And we can always come back to those characters. I'm not really sure how it's going to work, but yeah. I also have a lot of leaves in my backyard that needs to be cleaned up, so... Grenar asks if that's an Astral Sea type thing. The Sand book is not an Astral Sea. It's just kind of a big wasteland of sand that at various temperatures becomes more like a liquid than a solid, and you can sail through it. So it's an interesting setting in that there are certain parts of the day that you are able to sail a boat through the sand, but once it cools off at night, the boat just stops. Like, it gets stuck in the sand. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, I can't do it, you know? So, no, oh, sorry, Grenard, the Dying God thing. So, Settlers of a Dying God is not based on anything in, Dungeons and Dragons. So it is Settlers of a Dying God is you literally play an insect. You're like a honeybee or a beetle, and you are on like the equivalent of a corpse of a giant, I guess. It's just a really large corpse, but the idea that there is life in decomposition is the whole basis of the game. And if you watch the video, I talk about whale falls, which are a real thing. When a whale dies and they fall to the bottom of the ocean, this entire ecosystem appears around the whale corpse because now there's nutrients and there's stuff. And so, and for like many, many decades, creatures will be living in this whale corpse and using it for nutrients and food and shelter and things like that. And it's just kind of cool. And so they took that idea, but like, I don't know, gamified it in old school essentials. If you haven't watched the video, I do, like, I know it's my video, I probably recommend it, but like, I recommend the setting a lot. Like, I thought it was really, really good. So for future videos, main channel, we're working on Greyhawk, but I am traveling next week. It's going to be kind of hard. And then other channel, I am going to keep reviewing some stuff. And then I do want to get back to going through all of the Dying Earth adventures that I've been running. I'm kind of talking about those and whether they're worth your money and stuff. So that is, yeah, lots of stuff to do. But clean up leaves, being a dad, love's hard. So, yeah, love the concept of whale falls. It's a good idea to bring into RPGs. I do too. Undelved. It's just a fun idea, and even on a not like micro scale, like a whale falling, I wonder if you could do something like humanity really does rely on the fact that, I don't know, the gods send these packages down every once in a while of grain, and that's how we survive. And people all of a sudden, it's like, why is the grain not falling, you know? So, very Love, Death, and Robots says Which End Up, which means that I should probably check out that episode. I haven't watched The Down Giant. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is my show. I'm just feel like I'm rambling now. If you have a favorite crowdfunding or DCC game, or what was your Halloween costume, you can let me know in the comments below. As always, you guys can find us Saturday mornings here on YouTube, and or you can catch us on, or catch the show on not BackerKit, on Substack, where the podcast is there, and you can enter it into your podcast of choice. Nothing is behind a paywall, but if you want to subscribe to the Paystack, you do not subscribe, but if you want to subscribe to the Paystack, subscribe to the Substack. It is a way for me to create an email list, which is what I'm doing for when Modular D6 is ready for like Kickstarter and things like that. Because they tell you if you want to be successful, start an email list. So that's what I did. And that's why this podcast is tied to that. I hope you guys have a happy Halloween. I'm really looking forward to Christmas and Christmassy DCC games that I always get to run. And we'll see what Goodman Games comes up with. That'll be kind of fun. I'm back in 2 games a week-ish which I think is the sweet spot for keeping me happy in a tabletop sphere, in a tabletop way. Like, one game a week, I'm kind of like, oh, and if it gets canceled, I'm like, oh, but if I have 2 games a week, usually one will always be successful and I have a good time. So I'm doing pretty well. Life's good. Thank you again so much for watching. Take care, everybody, and be good to each other. And we will see you all in next week, if not before. Take care. Bye-bye.